this ward every bit as much, if not more than me. One is my wife, Diane. And I've just gotten to know many of you over the last year and a half, and I'm so honored to be among you because I know what so many of you are doing, and without fanfare, without expectation of any glory. I'll say, though, that my experience to this point in life has led me to realize that if you stand up for what you believe in, even if what you believe in, or if you stand up for what you believe to be the truth, even if the public doesn't want to hear the truth, you usually get more blame than you deserve. But every once in a while, some enlightened group will give you more credit than you deserve. And that's the case for me tonight. I've also discovered that on those rare occasions when you get more credit than you deserve, you ought to milk it for all it's worth. More words tonight then. I'm particularly honored to receive an award named for the late Congressman Robert Matsui, and to have it presented to me by his widow, Congresswoman Doris Matsui. I know that this audience appreciates the symbolism in the fact that I'm being given this award at a time when I'm running against Congressman Dan Lundgren, whose agenda truly is the antithesis of the legacy of Robert and Doris Matsui. Robert Matsui and his family were forced into a Japanese internment camp when he was 6 months old in Tule Lake, California. Doris Matsui was born in a Japanese internment camp in Arizona. In the 1980s, Robert Matsui was one of the principal members of Congress to get a bill passed called the Japanese American Redress Act. And under this act, the United States federal government formally apologized to the Japanese interned during World War II and paid some reparations, some monetary compensation to them. Well, at that time, Dan Lundgren was a congressman from Long Beach, and he did his best to scuttle the Japanese American Redress Act. He was unsuccessful, but he tried to introduce amendments that would weaken the language of the apology and that would take away the compensation. As has been mentioned by John Chung, Robert Matsui was a stalwart supporter of the Social Security system, and he fought valiantly to prevent the privatization of Social Security. Well, Dan Lundgren has gone around the district misrepresenting the current situation in Social Security and advocating what he calls the privatization of Social Security, what I call the Enronization of Social Security. Robert Matsui was a passionate advocate for children. And among the many other things he did for children, he helped pass in 1997 the bill which established the state children's health insurance program. This program has provided health care coverage for tens of millions of children across the country who live with lower income families. Well, as I think most of you know, Dan Lundgren just voted against renewing and expanding the state health insurance program for children. Congresswoman Doris Matsui, as she mentioned, over the past year has repeatedly voted to bring our troops home promptly and safely from Iraq, to link any further funding to the Iraq occupation to a timetable for withdrawal of our troops, and to prevent the formation of permanent U.S. military bases in Iraq. Well, Lundgren, who votes against health care for children, saying it's too expensive, votes repeatedly for runaway spending in what our former commander of U.S. forces in Iraq has referred to now as a nightmare with no end in sight. A nightmare that has already cost $450 billion by the most conservative estimates, and that has led to the death of nearly 4,000 United States servicemen and servicewomen and an estimated 650,000 Iraqi people. I could go on and on issues with regard to labor, with regard to education, with regard to health care, with regard to the environment, where Lundgren is the polar opposite of the legacy of Doris Matsui and Robert Matsui, but I think you get my point. In accepting the Robert Matsui Public Service Award, I pledge to do my best to follow the example of Robert Matsui. And that example includes getting elected to Congress. Robert Matsui got elected on a grassroots campaign in 1978. Jerry McNerney, just south of us, got elected on a grassroots campaign in 2006. Charlie Brown very nearly got elected in 2006. And with your support, Charlie and I will get elected in 2006. I just wanted to make a few more comments. I wanted to thank all of you and the members of Town and Country Democrats. As Arnie said, my wife and I first showed up at a Town and Country Democrat meeting in April of 2006. To use Arnie's term as a smart ad, but as someone who, you know, we were pretty much perfect strangers to most of you in the room. And I want to thank you for the way you warmly embraced both Diane and me from that point on, for the tremendous support and all your hard work in the 2006 campaign, for your patience and understanding when after the 2006 election I went back to work in the emergency department and took some time to reflect on the 2006 campaign and on the possibilities for 2008. I want to thank you again for your tremendous enthusiasm and support when I announced on August 31st that we'd be running again. I remember an episode last year at the Fair Oaks office, which Margie alluded to. We were doing phone banking, and Arnie was helping train the phone banking volunteers. And he said, I overheard him saying to a volunteer, this campaign is not about an individual. It is about a movement to restore grassroots democracy. And the same is true of the award. It's not about an individual. It's about a movement that you are all involved in to restore grassroots democracy. It's a public service award that should go to everyone in this room for the work that you do in the political realm with Town and Country Democrats and other political clubs and organizations, for the work you do in your jobs, for the work you do with nonprofit organizations, and for the work you do in your private lives. And for your dedication and commitment to working toward peace, justice, and a better future for our communities, our country, and our world. And it's on behalf of all of you that I accept this award.